So you're on your own right now and you want to figure out how to start over, how to reinvent and reclaim your life and secure your financial future for yourself and for your family? Well, you're watching the right video. Watch this.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Hello, Queens. I am Coach Ivy. I am a certified life coach, and I specialize in helping women reinvent and reclaim their lives after divorce. For today, we have Natolie Warren here. She is a psychotherapist specializing in finances, and we're going to talk about the mindset you need to have an abundant life. Specifically, the secrets no one will tell you about money. So for those of you who are new, you can click the button to subscribe or join the group. Otherwise, sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey. So, Natolie, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and we will take it from there. Welcome.
Thank you, Ivy. I appreciate the opportunity to share. You asked, who am I? So I'm going to start with personal. Who am I? I am a wife and a mother. I have 3 little people. I have an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And I get to run 2 businesses and have my household, which is supported by my husband, to really be able to do that. So that's about who I am as a person. Right. What I get to do, I absolutely love being able to support, and I specifically focus with women. So I do have a private practice. So I'm a psychotherapist. I've been in the field for 16 years. I know I look really young. And I've been in private practice. It'll be 13 years in October. And in that, I've branched out my personal development company to do similar things. I do coaching and speaking. I'm an author, a podcaster. I'm an international speaker and global trainer. I get to live the life that I love to do, but more importantly, I support other women create the life that they want. And it really starts with working on themselves and healing their fears and their wounds, all the stuff that you can't see that holds you back. That is the stuff that I get to do on a daily basis. And I don't know if there's anything else I would do. I was truly born to do it, and I love getting the opportunity to do it. So that's a little bit about me and who I am.
Wonderful. So let me just, I don't have a hat, but if I did, hats off, crown off to you. Mother of 3 little ones, and they're little. They're not, I'm a mother. My daughter is 19, so I've done my time, but I'm one and done. 3 is a whole other level of motherhood. So kudos to you for doing that and running 2 businesses. So tell me about your 2, in addition to a household and being married, but running 2 businesses. What are the 2 businesses that you run?
Yes. So the private practice, and that is growing and thriving. So I have that. And then I branched out into doing more women's empowerment stuff, which is the coaching, hosting live events, the speaking, all of that. And so that is my other side, which is the whole woman experience. So in that do a lot of mindset work, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. I take what I've learned through psychology and personal development and package it in a way that really supports women to create a mindset built for success. So that's a part of the business and what I do.
So tell me a little bit about the whole woman experience. I'm enamored with that title from out the gate. And I read a little bit about it, but I'm going to let you share about your whole woman experience.
Yes, it's based off of the principle that we all have everything that we need within us. And it's about awakening to the truth of who you are and what you were intended to be and to have. So really supporting women to stand in their wholeness and go after everything that they're supposed to have. And I love it. It's a personal journey. I really didn't realize it, that I was on my own journey. And I was getting the opportunity to really share that with other people. I really thought I was doing it to help other people. And then I realized this is my journey, or has been my journey. So that's what the whole woman experience represents, about wholeness and walking in it. And that the idea that the woman is already whole.
Yes.
They're just parts of you haven't discovered yet. You're not broken. Yes. There's just parts of you that you haven't discovered. And it's my job to guide you through that process.
Well, you said so much just now, so rich. The tapestry is rich. I love it. First of all, the whole woman, it's the woman in her entirety. You said we're not broken. And I did a post the other day saying I don't use the word broke. In fact, when I hear my daughter or other women, I'm like, cancel clear. We don't say broke. That's brokenhearted, broken spirit, broke financially, a broke down car. Broke is broke. Nobody's broke. Like that's not own broke. But to your point, we all have barriers, places we can't see, places that are dimly lit, places that we're afraid even to go in. I know it's over there, but I'm a little afraid to go into there. But they still make up the whole of who we are, and loving and embracing the whole of that is so important for women. It's so important. It's important for humans, but it's important for women because I think that women in general are more likely to, I'm just going to put that in the corner. And men are like, no, this is how I am. My dad bought and my money. And this is the kind of guy. Like, they're like, this is what it is, And in particular with money, I've read stats about it. Like a man will come in and he doesn't really care. He's just going to ask for what he wants. With women, we're like hand wringing around. What if they see that dimly lit place or that place I don't want to go into? And men don't have any such trepidation. They don't have the same types of trepidation. So I just, so much of what you said, there's such richness there. So I applaud the work that you do. So let's talk about money, how this whole woman.
That's what I say, it fits into the whole woman. You can't talk about it and leave out money.
You can't. So I want to actually ask, that's one of the things you bring up a really good point. Why is it so uncomfortable for us as women to talk about money? And ladies, like I'm not separating myself from that. Like I still feel discomfort. I'm okay talking about money as a subject, as a topic, as a growth thing. I don't talk about my money, not even in my inner circle, like a lot. And not that, and I used to have a lot of shame. I don't now, but I just don't. Like, it's kind of like this inbred thing that, but we have a really hard time talking about money. And why is that?
Oh, great question. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about that.
One of the challenges we have as women, and it's that we associate a lot of who we are to the money. Our own fears, our own thoughts, our own insecurities. And I can list off those things, not just because I'm an expert and a professional, but because I know from personal experience, right? I can tell you from personal experience. And so when we do that, money has a different value than just it being currency, being an exchange, which is what it's supposed to be, an exchange for one thing to another. It becomes a lot of other things that are attached to us as a person, and it really can impact you in many ways that you don't even know of.
Yeah. It's often difficult to uncouple yourself from the number that's being fed to you, whatever that number is, whether it's for your job or whatever, you're doing household chores. I can remember growing up, whatever. This is going to date me. I remember when my allowance was $2.50, and I remember getting a raise to $5. And I remember, and I don't think my work changed per se, but I just remember like, oh, that's, $2.50. That's really good money as a kid. You know what I mean? But it meant something, like whatever that is, versus later on getting $50 or $60 or $700, and what that meant and what I was able to do with it. And that number was like something on my forehead, like the number now, I guess it's equated to the number of likes you get on your social media, right? Which can equate to a dollar amount for some people that it does. So how do we move beyond this? Like, how do we make it okay, even just in general, to talk about money? People talk about making money. They talk about growing money. They talk about having money. They talk about manifesting money. They talk about, but we don't really take that dive. What's like my relationship with money? Like how, let's tell the truth. How do I feel about the money that I'm making? Like the number that I feel like I'm walking around on the back of my chest, like I'm wearing a jersey with some number on, but we don't talk about that. How do we start having a real conversation with ourselves about money?
I think you're starting to say what we need to do is have that conversation. What we don't realize is that we all have a relationship with money. And I had to, in my own journey, realize about 6 years ago, I was in a poor relationship with money that I didn't even know I was in the relationship. That was the funny part. Like, I said, I think I have this relationship and I don't know how I feel about it. And so I started to really sit down and ask myself, really, what's my money story? Most people don't sit with that to see what is the story, what are the beliefs that you have about money, what are the feelings that you have about money? Like just really sitting with yourself to do that self-assessment can be so helpful in starting the process. And then after that, I decided I was going to divorce this relationship. Like, I don't remember agreeing to this, so I get the opportunity to say, I don't want to do this anymore. And it really was so helpful to uncover a lot of judgments that I had about money, which is one of the things I would really encourage everybody to sit with. Ask yourself, what do you think about people who have money? And I realized I thought they were selfish, they were greedy, that they did something bad or wrong to get it, that they were doing unnecessary things. Like, why do they need stuff? They can do it themselves. Like all of these beliefs. And when we judge something, what happens is we won't want it. If you're judging it, you will not want it. And I had to realize that. But another thing that we can think about for your assessment is if you're an entrepreneur like myself, asking yourself about, or if you're working and you want to get a raise and increasing the number, just sitting with yourself and saying, if I were to increase my rates by $100, how does that make me feel? Or if I were to go into my boss's office tomorrow, for those that are professionals, and say, I want a raise, and you increase that number, how do you feel about that? Because if you're not sure how your money story is, I guarantee you it's going to show up when you do that exercise. And keep increasing it. So I would increase it by $500, then another $1,000, and see how it makes me feel. What comes to my mind? Because it's going to tell you a lot about the story that's going on in the back of your mind that you're not aware of.
You bring up a really good point. So I've done more money exercises than I can count. They're all useful and valuable in different ways. But I haven't done the one you just said. How do I feel about money? How do I feel about an extra 100, 200, 300, 500, which is really powerful. What is the point I get uncomfortable? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and there's gold in that right there, because the breaking point is where you're going to need to go and do some work. Because if 100 more, like, and I put up a post the other day and I said, people think they need more money to be happy with money. They often don't, because they're not happy with the money that they have. It's not that they don't have enough, they're not managing their enough. And you kind of know that's that dimly lit place. It's like, I know if I made more money, I'm just going to make a complete and total mess of it. In the same way I've made a mess of this $10, I'm going to make a mess of this $100. And so where your mind goes is, even if you get $15, you just mess it up. So when your thought process is, I just need more money. If I got a windfall, I would be fine. I just need more. If I got $500, I would be great. But to your point, if I sat down and really thought about how I felt about, what if I just got $100? And you could start just checking in. And I tell people, do a body scan. Don't label it, but like, do a body scan, right? Like, is your heart fluttering? Do you feel a little sick or queasy? Like, don't label it, but notice where your body is going when you say those numbers out loud. That is hugely powerful. And I've done that with so many other things. And I never once thought to check in that way with money. And that is so huge.
It can be really life-changing to see and hear. And sorry, I talked about kids earlier. I think they're having a moment. So y'all excuse me. I'm a mom.
That's okay. Most of us are mothers here. So that's what we all get.
You're definitely being aware of that feeling. Because let's talk the truth. Most of us are after the feeling of things that we really want or don't want. It's usually the feeling. So tapping into that and the messages that pop up, like, it will get louder as you increase those numbers. If you do that exercise, that voice in your head will get really loud. Listen to it and see what it's trying to tell you. It's such a powerful way to transition and transform in that way.
You make a really good point. I heard another coach say she used to judge people for flying private until she made enough money to fly private. And then she was like, well, now it's a convenience thing. It's a safety thing with COVID. It's a scheduling thing. I can't do it. I can fly my whole team instead of having them fly commercial for one. Like, she goes, in the mindset that I'm in now is so different that now I don't feel like I don't judge people for flying private. Now I get why somebody would even choose that, where before I couldn't even, I was like, what snobbery,
Yes.
right? You can't think of it. And so to your point, that's all about how do we feel about, you know, I saw and to that I saw somebody on what was it, Instagram? It was like a little silver thing, and it was like you opened it up and it was like an elite little ticket in. And I'm curious, I don't even know what it was, but you could tell it was like some high ticket thing. And I was like, let me read the comments, because sometimes the comments will tell you what it is, so you don't have to click on the ad and then you keep seeing the ad. And the only comment was somebody going, only such and such would think of the most snobbish way to put on this elitist, very narrowly focused thing to make everybody feel bad. I mean, they went on this paragraph rant about this commercial, which to that point, if you have those kind of feelings about money, what then happens to us is my next question. When you're in that world with money and you feel that way about money, what then happens to your relationship, such as it is with money at that point?
Yeah, no, I think what happens is you will probably repel it, especially if you're in a place of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And what I had to learn was it was causing my own insecurities and my own inadequacies and my own lack. So it felt easier to judge them because that made me feel better, right? It wasn't even about them. It wasn't about them. Even that example for the private jet, the idea is I can't afford that right now. So it made me feel uncomfortable, and I had to sit in my own stuff. And that helped. That really is where it helps. But if you're in that space, you may repel it, or you may try to hold on to it, or you may not give yourself the opportunity to kind of enjoy it. Enjoy it. I had a friend, and what she said with her daughter, what they did, they would just throw money around and play with it and be in the joy of it, taking out the negative feelings and beliefs that we have, and just be present and enjoy it and realize there's so much of it. There's no lack when we think of it. But that's what you can do if you're able to move past that.
That's another great money exercise for those people that, even if it's like $1 bills, but like go buy yourself 100 $1 bills and spread it out all over your bed and like roll in it for like 5 minutes and everything. My daughter just started working and she got like a wad of bills and she goes, all right, Mom, don't laugh at me, but I rolled in that money.
Good.
This was her first job, and so she was thrilled and she was pleased with it. But to your earlier point, the healthier your relationship is with money. It's just like anything. If you have a healthy relationship with your body, you're fitter, you are happier the way you look with your clothes, you're more likely to actually adorn yourself with things you like, rather than hiding yourself under gray or black or big, fluffy clothes because you don't like the way you look. With your partner, if you're healthy with your partner, you're more likely to want to be out engaged with your partner. The same thing with money. You're more likely to want to have a spending plan, to want to look at your bank balance, to want to partner with a financial planner, than if you're just like, I don't want to have anything to do with that. My own relationship, I would say, was a situationship. And which was, I just never knew where I stood, right? I just never knew. It wasn't like a lack. I was like, and I was thinking about it today in preparation. Because I'm like, how was your relationship? I'm like, I've never really not had money. What I've not done is like know where I stood. And that used to make me feel insecure. I didn't know what was coming in. I didn't know what was going out. I didn't know what was in savings. I didn't know what was in retirement. If I even had it or was doing it, I just didn't know. And so there's always this undercurrent. If I had tapped into your earlier point of feeling, how I felt was insecure because I didn't know. Like I always felt like I was going to be, blindsided, like that. What was that commercial where the guy comes in and tackles people for eating out of the refrigerator? I always felt like that guy was going to come and go, you don't have enough savings, right? And I would be like, I don't even know what's in my account, right? I used to feel like that all the time. And that's a very disempowering feeling when it comes to your finances. And it's one of the, if I had to say, there's, pillars that we stand on, financial wholeness, wellness is one of the main pillars, not because I'm so enamored with money, but because we need money to live. It's a tool. You can't really do much. We don't live in a bartering society. This isn't 1819 where I could go 2 chickens for a cow and people would be into that. People want, no, I would like $100 or $1,000 for my cow. Thank you. I got chickens. Right. So it's just, it's a different time. So what would you say are your kind of top 3, to 5, like mindset hacks? Like what are the ones we need to like latch onto, like if our life depended on it? Because it kind of does.
Yes, I think so. And we're speaking of mindset hacks for life or money, just in general. What are you wanting?
Yeah, like to increase your wealth consciousness, your money consciousness, so that you can live a better life. Money consciousness or abundance mindset was going to help you live a better life in general. But an abundance mindset, will with money, but abundance mindset will help you live an abundant life, no matter what you're trying to hold on to.
Absolutely. So I think one of those is understanding that there is no lack with money. I think that I said earlier is so, so true. There are beliefs and there are oftentimes some outside fears that are placed out there. There's a shortage on gas. There's a shortage on this. There's a shortage on that. And we accept or believe that's true about money. And there isn't a shortage. There's no lack with it. That helps to take on that abundance mindset. Understanding, I said before, that money is an exchange, and it's an exchange for something. Mm-hmm. And if we realize that, just as we exchange for everything else, like I am trying to get my kids to do something, I might exchange that with the snack.
Right.
So there's an exchange there. We exchange all the time, but when it comes to money, we put a lot of the negative stories, beliefs, and trauma. We didn't even talk about that, but the trauma, all of that onto it, and just understanding it's an exchange for something. The other idea is about that there is the opportunity to get more of it. Talking about there's no lack, but this idea that there's always a way to get more money. And that takes you out of that scarcity mindset. And my son, funny story, I did not realize I was teaching him about lack when it comes to money. Because I was one that would say, turn the lights off. I don't know if you grew up in the household where your parents said, turn off the lights. You're wasting
I am that household. I'm like, could you please turn off my lights?
You're wasting electricity. Turn off the TV. You're not even watching it. Like, I started to realize I was giving him this idea about lack and wasting money. And I realized that because when he gets money, and he's up to over $100 at this point, when he gets it, he keeps it. And he's like, no, I can't spend it. No, I can't spend it. And I realized I had to own that as a parent, that I was teaching him lack and waste when it should be okay. So I'm now trying to teach him how to spend his money. My daughter, on the other hand, she will give her money away. She has no attachment to it. She's like, oh, I got $30. I'm going to give you 20. I'm going to give you 10. And it doesn't matter whether she doesn't have anything left. But she doesn't have that attachment to money. And I realized through my own experiences that I'm somehow teaching him that, and I had to catch that. So that's another thing about this idea that you can always get more and have more. I think there's some of the mindset hacks that I would share to really start that ball rolling with you changing it.
Those are really, really good, and they're very interchangeable. So the first one that you were talking about is that there is no lack. I want to hang here for a minute, because I think that is the secret that no one tells you about money. How we grow up, in particular, if you're in any underrepresented group, if you're foreign born and you immigrated here, if you're a woman, if you're a person of color, we are taught, programmed, our experience is, in the world, laws show us opportunities come forth like you better grab onto it because they're short in supply. And our programming is constant around that. Money doesn't grow on trees. You got to work twice as hard. Whether it's you don't speak the language, so people think that you're not as smart, you're not going to be paid as well. You're a woman, you're not going to be paid as well. You're a person of color, you're not going to be paid. Like there's this constant thing. The secret, I think, and I want to know what you think is, but my thought is, and I was thinking about this today, what the 1% know that nobody else knows is what you said was the first thing. There is no lack of money. There is no lack. Like money can be generated like that, like just like that. And I mean, like they can make phone calls and be like, I was thinking about doing such and such. And I get the systemic and all that other stuff, but a lot of it is they believe that. And so they just go, going to go out. And if you took it all away tomorrow, they would just be like, well, now I'm selling pencils. So this is $100 pencil. It's got bling on it. There's a bow on it. And then people would be like, how did he go from nothing to that? And I see so many millionaires file for bankruptcy, lose it all. And then next week, they have more money than they lost. And I personally, I mean, that's my thought. I was wondering, what do you think is the secret, the 1%? I mean, that's what I think, but what do you think the secret, the 1% know? And it's the secret. They don't like tell people that. What do you think it is?
No, I agree. I think it's that they realize there's no lack. And if they follow a structure, they follow a system, they can be created. And we've seen millionaires, billionaires file bankruptcy and it's back. But they do that. But you said something important about the programming that we all are operating under. And most people don't realize how the mind works. So for a moment, I will share how the mind works. And the programming that we all are operating under currently is programming from 7 and under. So whatever those life experiences were for us from 7 and under, that is the programming we're operating on until we do the work and kind of reprogram ourselves. But we're also operating from our subconscious mind, which is the part that's running your life, even though you don't even know it. Your conscious mind is what you see, what you feel, what you touch, what you experience in the moment. But the subconscious mind is running the show. And most of us don't realize that, which is why I am passionate about mindset work, because money mindset and money mindset in general, because most of us underestimate the power of mindset. We think we don't have time to do it. Or we tell ourselves, I've done this already. I don't need to do this no more.
Right.
Lies and lies and lies.
Yeah, I just said to you, like, I've done all these money exercises, and then you just said something new to me that my mind just latched onto, is I never talk to myself about how I feel about money. And so, yeah, you're right. We don't give ourselves the bandwidth that, like, maybe this person is actually going to say something I've never heard before. Why don't I just actually offer an open mind and see what drops in, you know?
Absolutely. So even with the relationship and the emotions and the programming, I did another exercise that I think radically changed me. Was I had a conversation with money. I don't know if you've ever done that one, but I sat down and I said, you know what? I was expecting you to rescue me. I'm angry at you because at times when I thought you should have been there, you wasn't. I mean, I went on this in-depth conversation with money, and I realized I was angry. I was angry with money because I had done everything right. I followed the systems that I'm supposed to follow, and you weren't there. And then you caused my family to struggle, and I went through that scenario. It was so liberating, but I realized I had a lot of emotion and attachment to it that I needed to change. And then I had a different conversation with money, and it was so powerful to be in a position to see money as valuable and loving and wanting to be in my life. Like, it was so amazing, so amazing. So I wanted to share that too for those who are listening. It's something you really can do.
That is an excellent exercise. I actually have done that one. My conversation went a little different because what I saw was I went down that path. Same thing. I was mad at money for abandoning me. And then what I saw is I abandoned money.
Wow. Beautiful.
That's what I saw. I'm like, I don't check in on you. I don't find out what you're doing, how you're doing. I don't find out where you need my attention. I don't know when you're coming or when you're going, and I don't care. All I care about is what you can do for me. And when you don't do for me, I am furious with you for not doing that. And then I'm mad at you for abandoning me, but I have abandoned you, and I have abandoned this relationship because I don't even know what's going on here. That blew my mind. I was like, wow, if this were your partner and you never checked in on it, you didn't know how they were doing, you didn't know if they were gaining interest or gaining weight or gaining anything.
Yes.
If that were like a person, you would have, no wonder you're in a situationship. It would be horrible. I would abandon you too, because you've done nothing to invest in this relationship whatsoever. So I was getting back exactly what I was putting into it. That blew my mind, and I went, and it changed. And that was probably the beginning of, I've had a couple iterations. I'm a really big, I always say there's Ivy, like I'm up to like, I think 4.0 or 5.0. There's all these iterations, and each iteration I gained something new. And one of them was really, you need to be in relationship with money. And, I even named it, like, they have like Johnny Cash. I call my money Cash Money. And I was like, hey, Cash, how you doing? Let's talk today. Sorry, I got a date with my Cash, my main man, Cash, talk to him. I have money dates. People laugh at me. I read that and I was like, no, I have a money date. We sit down, we check. Yes, I have, I know what's going on now. It's even, I have a habit tracker and I'm supposed to check my bank accounts every day and I have to check off that I've done it. So I have reminders to remind me to stay in touch. I mean, like you would never not call a partner. Most of us do not go all day without talking to our significant other or our children, and never knowing what's going on. But we will not check that bank account and have no idea what those fees are for weeks at a time. So yeah, that is I've forgotten all about that. That is a super duper powerful exercise. Thank you for reminding us of that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, to your point, I absolutely think the biggest secret that no one tells us is there is no lack, or no one programs that. That programming is absent from many, many groups of people. And it's disappointing because if you had that, it would lend itself to you making different choices throughout your life that we just don't think are options. The way we even approach being in relationship with money is like it's not even an option to be in relationship. It's transactional and nothing further, and that's it. It's a transaction. Wow. And we all know what kind of relationships you have when they're transactional.
I was about to say, that's what I was thinking. Like, yeah, and you're left with nothing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And your yardstick is always about what you got out of the transaction, which lends itself to you being left with nothing, because you're always measuring what can I get, instead of how can I add value, which then, to your I think it was your second point, it was about the flow. It's currency, it's an exchange. And when there's a balance of exchange and flow, you're always going to get back, high value when you're offering high value, when you're giving high value, when you're committed to high value and service, you're always going to get that back.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. So this is so important. And I think the thing is, we don't have these conversations. We don't have these conversations, and why we need to have them, or there's a lot of secrecy around these conversations, when it could be so healing just to know this stuff. So I'm glad we're talking about it.
Well, the top 1%, of course, they know there's no lack of money, but I don't know that they want to share.
Because there may be some territorial stuff happening.
Right. They're not exactly very forthcoming with that. But having said that, that's also a meme that I want to debunk as well. Money is not evil. Those 1% of people are not evil. Whatever their intentions are, they're using money to fuel those intentions, whether it's the suppression of whatever or the empowerment of whatever. So, I was thinking about, I like, time is the great equalizer, like me and Oprah and Bill Gates and, and BJ Fogg and, explorers and all that. We all got the same 24 hours a day. At the same time, some people like Oprah, Bill Gates, and what's the woman who owns Spanx? Sarah, I can't think of her name now. Blakely, right? Right, they're billionaires. They have their billions and they're also using it to empower people. They're not using it to disempower people. They have the same amount of money as, I don't want to name names and throw people under the bus, but those other people who aren't using their money for, good purposes. So money in and of itself is still, going back to what you said, it's a currency, it's an energy, what are your thoughts on that? Like it doesn't, like people, that's the meme, that money is the root of all evil. Rich people are horrible people. Rich people are selfish. Rich people are self-indulgent. They don't have morals. And you said earlier, when you think that, then you're repelling money. But my thought was, that's not how it works. That's something else. That's something else no one tells you, that's not how it works either.
No, I agree. I definitely agree. And I think what you said about essentially money just reveals what's already there, just like everything else. It reveals what's already there.
Right.
If they had those people who are giving money, if they had $10, they would be giving it. They would give away the money. But there's a fear that we have is that money will change us. I definitely want to say that is another myth of what you're talking about, or that we will lose people or relationships because they'll not want to be around us or think we're better than them. Like there's all these things that come up, our underlying fears, which goes back to our money stories and the narratives, our underlying fear that they won't like us, they will think we're better than them, we'll be separated. And ultimately our fear is that we won't be loved. That's our greatest fear there. So many things with that. But you're right, this 1% understands that, and it makes a difference. And if we can adopt some of these just mindset shifts, even if it's subtle, it really can radically change our lives. And I'm committed to doing that. And I know you are in the work that you do.
Absolutely.
To doing that.
You said something that was interesting. It just, the money, it just reveals then what, where you are, what your intentions are. And for some people, I think that's, what do you think, is that a potential money block as well? Because I think some people are afraid, like what I said, if you're out of control with $10, I think for some people that's the fear. If they gave me $100, I think they're all going to know that I blow my money on lottery tickets. Like, and that's not a good look. And so I think people repel money because it's a level of responsibility that they know that they're not currently operating in with $10, let alone $1,000. And I think that's very difficult. Instead of going, how can I look at this $10 and be in relationship with the $10 in a more healthy way? They just repel the $100. That's what their energy does. It's just repelling the $100 versus that. Do you think, or how do you think we can get past that? Because I know for someone, they call that the fear of success, right? It's not really fear of success. I think it's fear of, somebody once put it like your ego is writing checks that your subconscious cannot cash, and your subconscious knows we cannot take that to the bank because it's going to bounce. We're going to, like the lottery winners, right? We're going to get all that money and it's going to go because we don't do good with $10. If they give us $1 million, it's going to be gone in 10 days. How do we write that? Because I know there are some queens out there right now that they want a better job, and actually, a better job would serve them. They really do. They have young children. They want to prepare for a future. They want to get out of debt. They want to, and at a certain point, it does take an increase of income and a decrease in spending. Like there is some truth to, you're going to need more to do this stuff. How do you get out of that fear of success/failure mentality? I know they're kind of intertwined, but.
No, great question. Fear is definitely a part of what goes with money. One of the things I think is important that we don't understand about the ego is the ego is fear-based. Like the idea of the ego is to protect us. It doesn't always feel like protection, but it's ultimately trying to protect us. So you got to realize what's really going on. And I even encourage people to have a relationship with fear. Befriend your fear is what I call that, because until you understand it and really see what's going on, you will be a victim to it, right? You will be a victim to it. So, but a way to do that is really just understanding what's really going on. And most of us are just so busy every day, we don't have time, or we don't even realize what's happening in the background. But that really can help us with the underlying fear of success, the underlying fear of failure, that you can move through it. And will you fail? Absolutely, accepting that as a truth. Will you have some success? Absolutely, accepting that as a truth. But realizing too, what do I need in order for me to maintain this? Because that's also part of why people aren't successful or they fail, because they don't have what they need to sustain it. So there's so many pieces to that, but I really am a component of befriend your fear. And if you get to know like your best friend, you will see that she's really, I call it our personified fear, that she's really there trying to help you. She's trying to protect you in a weird, twisted way. And you can let her know, thank you, but no, thank you. I got it covered. And that really is a way to kind of transform through that process.
That is a really good, way to think of her. I didn't name mine a her. I went to this class, and this woman said she had the amygdala, that little dinosaur brain. And what she said is her fear was like a six-gun shooter. And whenever she would get upset and she knew that part of her brain, she goes, she could see the guy like holsters up, like ready to just like just shoot people. And I always laughed at that image. I thought that was so funny, but it made me think, what do I see? Like, how do I feel when I'm in that mode, when I'm afraid to check my balance, when I don't want to look at the credit card app, when I don't like, what is happening for me? And to your point, I don't have guns blazing, but like I like martial arts. So I'm like ready to bring out my nunchucks and really and really, and I can actually feel that in my body, like my shoulders clench up, and I take a defensive posture, and I go to, and I think the first few times I sat down with my money, I went into it like ready to do battle because I was afraid of what I was going to see, and my posture was reflecting that. But to your point, we're so busy, we don't take the time to even notice that that's what's actually going on, and when we don't do that, we get on autopilot. And so then what my autopilot was is don't look.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the autopilot. And what I got though, as time went on, is that made me more, then it became, it was uncomfortable to be uncomfortable. It was more uncomfortable to be in fear than it was to be fearful. It got to the point where I was like, I'm so uncomfortable not knowing. I don't care what it says. I don't care if it's negative $1 million, $1 trillion. I must know. And that's actually how I got out of doing it. It just became, my discomfort became so uncomfortable that I had to get past it and start looking. But it was really hard. I share that with the ladies to say, I hear you. Like, I get it. The fear is very real. The fear of, I don't have enough. I'm afraid to confirm that. Or, you walk out of, I always say, you should never, a queen does not walk out of the house and not know what she has. She does not walk up to a counter and hope the transaction is going to go through. Hope is not a strategy. It's not. And we're all hope addicted. I hope things are going to work out. I hope I get this job. I hope that this transaction is going to go through. I hope my finances are going to be okay. I hope I have enough money. I hope. And we're all hope addicted. So what advice do you have to get us out of the hope strategy with money? Because that is such an easy go-to, and people will give you the same platitudes. Money doesn't go on trees, but things will be better tomorrow. You got to work hard for what you're going to get, but don't worry, you're going to get yours when it's right. You work hard, all right, women have to work twice as hard, but you're a hard worker, so you're going to end up, do you know what I mean? Like, there's all this, so it leaves you in this hope. Those aren't actions you can take. Those are just platitudes that people offer that reinforce this programming that the 99% of us have, that the 1% don't talk about at all. They don't talk about, you're going to feel better. They're like, how many deals did you do? Did you check the thing? Did you meet with what does your financial planner say? Well, how much money are you investing? They ask hard questions with numbers and dollars and time and action beside them. So what can we do to get like away from this hope addiction? And in particular, when most of the people that we're around are on the same hope addicted train. That's where we got the programming in the first place.
Absolutely. And I want to add one more before I talk about the hope mentality shifting, is sometimes we also believe that it's someone else that's going to take care of it when we think about money. So God's going to take care of it.
Yes.
God's going to take care of it. My boss at work, we put that responsibility.
I'm going to marry rich. That's another one.
Somebody else.
Yeah.
The answer to your question about how do we change that is we got to take responsibility. I think you've been saying that when you said I checked that bank balance. I used to not like, we used to write in the bank balance book. I did not like doing that. Right?
Me neither.
But taking action, and that's what those who are more successful do. How do we do that? It's every day setting that intention to do it. I'm going to be intentional with it, giving yourself grace and being patient with yourself as you learn this new habit. But we do know we can always create new rituals and new routines. That's the power of choice. You can always create something new. And then as your other point about people around you, you might have to get some new people in your circle. I know we love the people we are always around. We're very comfortable with them, we're familiar with them. But if they're not challenging you in that area, we have to find a new circle. And I'm sure this community is a great space that you created, Ivy, where they can create a new space, a new circle, a new community. It won't change if you're around the same people. It just becomes very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
But all of that, yes, all of that is so important for us to remember.
And I want to stay here for just a minute because this is particularly important because you alluded to this earlier. If I get financially healthy or wealthy even, I'm going to lose the people around me. And these are the people that I love. My mom, my dad, some people here are married or in relationships or situationships, a partner, or you're co-parenting and you're co-parenting well because y'all are in the same boat. You figure if I get in a different boat, that might be stressful. That's really hard for people. And I think some of us, that's that subconscious is I'm not going to be loved. And so we self-sabotage. So, I don't ask for the raise, or I know I should have done this on the project, but I didn't do it. And so instead of getting the raise or the promotion, I don't get it. I stay flat. You play small because you're afraid of that. How do we get past that? Because that's very real for people, I think, when it comes to money. That fear of my mama's not going to love me anymore. She's going to think I'm too big for my britches or I'm acting all uppity. In Baltimore, we have a word. Yes, this is not a word. In Baltimore, they say sedity. Are you all sedity? Right? So, and you hear those things and then you start going back to square one. I don't talk about money. I can't share with people about my dreams or my success. And even if you have a new group of friends, some of that core group is really important to you. Your mom, your dad, your sister, your partner, your children. How do we move past that? Because that takes something for some people. And for a lot of people, they shoot themselves in the foot around that close inner circle. They can be okay with all the other, friends from high school and pseudo girlfriends. But when it comes to mom, dad, brother, sis, current partner, that's a tough row to hoe. And I've seen so many other coaches talk about women who be like, I really want to do this program. And they have to have a conversation with their husband. And it starts this whole thread of, my husband doesn't want my success. I don't know how to talk to him about this whole thing. It's very real for people. So how do we deal with that?
Absolutely. But first, what we just said is acknowledging it. Acknowledging the difficulty with that and understanding, like I said before, our number one fear as humans is that we won't be loved. At the end of the day, that is what we fear most. And so being aware that this is a real fear for you. And it's okay to be afraid. I think that's another thing in that acknowledgement. Yeah. And after that, I look at it as shifting your perspective, that you're not leaving them behind. You're creating a pathway. You're creating a space that if they want to join, they can.
Yes.
And that for me feels different, that I am actually creating a pathway or a space to invite them to come. Now they get to choose. Now you have to realize that they're going to get to choose just like you chose. And their choice may be to stay where they are. And it really will be okay. Love them unconditionally where they are and allow yourself the space to grow. And what we've seen in so many instances like that, one person kind of leads the way and takes a different turn, and it may take time, but sometimes those individuals join it. They end up changing on their time and in their own way. Yeah. But that's a part of that shift, sitting in that uncomfortableness, acknowledging it, recognizing it, and then deciding to change your mindset that I'm not leaving them behind. I'm creating a pathway. I'm creating a space to invite them to come into. That's how I thought of that.
I love the thought of I'm creating a pathway. I'm an example for people who want to follow in that example to do that. And the other thing I say is cloak yourself in your own vision. Your vision belongs to you. Your financial definition of health and well-being belongs to you. It's not for your mother or your brother or your partner to co-sign on. And you got to really, to your point, take responsibility and own that. And so much of that is we want everybody to buy into our dream. I'm going to, they tell you, I think it was Ford Motor Car guy. I think he's talked about in Think and Grow Rich. And the Ford guy, the horseless carriage, give me a break. He was thought of as ridiculous. And the example that Napoleon Hill uses for him is the mastermind. And he said nobody thought Napoleon Hill was worth any, this idea was dumb. And so his mastermind consisted of his wife, and she was the only one. And she probably, because she was married, and back then what do women do? Okay, baby, whatever you say. This was the 1920s, right? I don't know, he didn't take a deep dive into how much choice she had, but he said that was it. He went on and did his own thing, but what he got was that I have to do this on my own. Like, there's not a bunch of people that are going to be like, horseless carriage, well, that's brilliant, sign me up. He didn't have that. It took him years to get people to even be interested in it. And, Ford is a household name. Everybody knows who Ford is, right? Today. But when he started, nobody knew what that was. They thought it was the most ridiculous thing in the world. I share that to say, you got to know and own your own vision, and cloak yourself in that vision, that it's been given to you for a reason, and everybody else may not be aligned with it. And that's okay. They got their own vision. Some people were put here to be great moms, great dads, great workers at a particular place, and that's fine. And that's what they're here. But if you're here to be someone who wants to be a millionaire or an entrepreneur, or have a great business, or even a side hustle, or just do something philanthropic, or something that just makes you feel good about your financial solidarity, then that's your vision. And then you're going to have to hold on to that, even when everybody else is, not co-signing. And to your point, be okay that it's not the most popular thing, and they don't have to like it. And I'm leading the way. And maybe if I fulfill my dream, it gives them permission to fulfill theirs. So, yeah.
And I also think about, when it comes to like friends, you're also entertaining a new possibility that while it feels like I'm leaving people behind, there's a group of people that are waiting for me to get there. They're cheering me on. They're excited about my arrival to this new space and this new place. And that brings great joy to know other people are waiting on my arrival to this new place, this new space. So that also is a shift in perspective.
I like that. So many people are waiting for me to get, like, it's like a party is there with your name on it, and they're all waiting to go, surprise, we're here. What took you so long? And you're like, no, I'm hanging back with these people who, aren't where you are in that moment, and that's okay. And I think sometimes it's the in-between worlds, to your point, where your subconscious is talking that programming, and you're trying to move beyond that programming to something new. And it can be really, really challenging. I want to go back to programming. You said programming is one piece, but I know we talked before. What about money trauma? There are some people that it's not just that, okay, money doesn't go on trees. But if you sit down and talk to them, they're going to say, I was evicted. I didn't have food. We got closed from I remember I have a friend who shared that they ate cheese and crackers because that's, all they had. My mom told a story recently, and I didn't notice that one of her first jobs was a secretary or like an assistant, an intern, and they used to send her to get lunch, and she hated rainy days because her shoe had a hole in it, and she used to plug the hole with newspaper. And so she was like, I didn't never mind going to get lunch. I was happy to work, but I hated it when it rained. Of course, they always wanted to send you when it rained because none of them wanted to go out on that day, but my shoes would be soaking wet. And then one day I figured out, wait, I could actually use the money that I earned to buy a pair of real shoes. She goes, it never occurred to me because I had been so used to plugging the hole with newspaper. I didn't think about using the money to actually make my life better by having a nice pair of shoes. Just things like that, that trauma lives with us, and how it took, I don't know how many times she walked to the store with shoes before she figured out that I could actually afford to buy a new pair. How do we overcome when people really have that? That's really powerful. And that is deeply buried often in their subconscious. That might be that dark place in the corner that there is no light on. They don't even know it's there.
It's a blind spot. Yes, absolutely. Trauma is real. Trauma is real. And what it does is it actually changes the makeup of the brain. It really changes how the synapses are happening and the pathways, all of that psychology stuff. So it can really impact people. But what we can do is really start to learn about our trauma. Sitting down and asking yourself, what were those memories or experiences that I can remember about money or lack of money, or maybe even having a lot of money and they lost it all. Like that can be trauma. And looking at how am I continuing that story, even though I'm not in that situation? Because the brain is so powerful, is it doesn't realize that a situation is different. So for an example, every time you see a cell phone, your brain is going to register cell phone. You don't have to think about it, no matter what color it is, what brand it is, it doesn't matter. So when we think about even these money traumas, the brain will see a situation and it will lump it back into that category, thinking, oh, cell phone, right? It looks like a cell phone, it must be one. And so you really have to do the work of understanding and pulling apart the trauma and really saying, this is different. What's different about where I am now? Like that particular lady, she says, no, what's different is that I have a savings right now. Mm-hmm. What's different is I'm able to work and I am having an increase on my pay. And when you do that, it helps to separate the past trauma from anything you're currently experiencing. But we're talking about those traumas, but we also have to think about our history and how people of color were actually oppressed. Mm-hmm. And when they got ahead, they were pulled back down really violently. Their businesses were burned.
That still happens. In some instances, still happening in some places. Yeah.
Absolutely. We had Tulsa. I know we celebrate Juneteenth recently, but the Black Market
Wall Street.
Black Wall Street. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a trauma. And so it passes down generational too. Mm-hmm. Just like we get the eyes of our family member, the hair texture, the body shape comes down through generations. There's a lot of money trauma that comes through generations as well. And so it really takes a person being willing to do the work. And I encourage everybody to do that work so you really can work through that trauma.
I hear you. I have heard through, you're everybody now is talking about all of the diversity and inclusion work. But one thing that this woman said, she said that, people of color, African American people in this country have to get past the cellular trauma of being enslaved. She said, but immigrants have to get past the cellular trauma of being colonized. And it's a different trauma. It is very impactful to both groups, but it's different. And it still needs to be acknowledged because they're another group of people. They've got their own journey and their journey is very different from ours, but it's very real when it comes to wealth consciousness, where we don't feel like we can get ahead, and that is particularly important for us to acknowledge. And how do we begin to reprogram or do the work around trauma? These are really big areas. How do we do the work? Like what are your recommendations?
There are many things. I think some of my biggest mentors have been through books. So there are a ton of books. I read a book recently, it's Not Your Money. And I thought I was reading a book about money and it just went a whole different direction. It just transformed me. And I thought, okay, this is a little more than just about money. It really went into self-worth and value and all these things that we're talking about.
I feel like I've read that book. Who is that by?
Ooh, I can't think of the author name, but it's like a purple cover. It's Not Your Money, or It's Not the Money, one of those titles.
I'll look it up, but I feel like I've read that book. But anyway, go on.
Yes, I love reading those type books. So you can start with the book. Like somebody might say, what do I do? You might start with the book, listening. Obviously, we have so many podcasts that you can listen to a podcast. You can actually go to therapy. If it gets to the point where it is significantly impacting your life, it's significantly impacting relationships, work, all these areas, you might need professional care, which I'm an advocate for. I think therapy can be an important way to work through things. Another technique that I love and I use with clients is tapping. So I don't know if you've heard of the emotional freedom technique. Tapping is a very powerful way to move things out that is stored in the body. We talked about the cellular membrane. The body keeps score. The body keeps memory of experiences, and tapping really sets off those meridian points to release that while you're venting and saying things that are true. I love tapping. So you could do that. The tapping.
Never thought to tap on money.
Oh, yes.
I never considered that. I'm going to add that to my practice. And I let me tell you, I tapped all the way through COVID because that's how I kept my sanity. in the beginning, because I'm a meditator, I could not get there. And then I was like, I need something. And I tapped and walked. And I walked while I tapped because the walking is calming for the nervous system because it's familiar. So the nervous system likes it because it knows walking. And then I tapped everything out. But I never tapped on money. Huh.
Absolutely. Check out the tapping solutions. The tapping solutions with Nick and his sister. Their names, their last name.
Jessica Ortner. Yep.
They have been tapping on money. Very, very powerful. That was one of the breakthroughs I had with my judgment on one of their summits that they do. I love them. So tapping could be a way, and research if you've never heard of it. You're like, what is this lady talking about?
We'll have to bring you back to have you do like a demo on tapping money. We'll have to, or I'll have to record something to show people how they can do that. I love tapping. I think it's very, very powerful. It's definitely a way to kind of from a physical, mental, spiritual way to unblock a lot of things. So I think it's fabulous.
It's very easy for the most part. There's some other methods that can be a little more challenging, but that feels very easy and natural for people to adopt. Mm-hmm. Definitely some of the things I would say you could start with. If you're wanting to know what can I do next, start with that.
Awesome. Are there any other actions you would get, besides you, obviously you got to do your mindset and trauma work. What are two other like real time that you should like do, like you can do tomorrow, tonight, when this is over, you could do to like change your money story, change your money mindset?
Yes, affirmations. I love affirmations. Affirmations really speak to the subconscious mind. So you're actually changing the programming in your subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is just obeying. It's like a gatekeeper. So it's obeying whatever the conscious mind is saying. So those affirmations will penetrate through. Mm-hmm. A list of affirmations to really speak the truth. That for me, I have a few that are around money that I just have as reminders on my phone. So you can put those things on your phone. It goes off every day at the same time, and you just say them. You just recite them. That's something that people can do today. Mm-hmm. And I think you can also, one of the other things I would challenge you to do is write what you want the story to be. Like realizing, like I said earlier, you always have the power to choose. You always have the power to choose. What would you choose if you could choose the story? That is something you could do today and really try to move forward in that mindset shift.
I love that. Love that. So 3 things you can do: books, queens, get some books. I will get some titles for you guys. I've read a ton of books, but if you have any titles for us, we would love some titles. And I can post that in the comments. Affirmations. So queens that are in the group, you guys know I'm posting affirmations every day around money, Monday through Friday, because this is the money month. So if you don't have affirmations, you can pick some of those up. But say them out loud and then click like once you've said them out loud. Like, don't just scroll through and read them and let them pass by. Like, read them, say them out loud, and then click like. It makes it, you're engaged more with it, and particularly saying them out loud, not just reading. A lot of people like see it and then they move on. But I know that when you speak things, it hits different levels of the brain, and that's really, really important. So say it out loud and then hit like if you like the affirmation. So I know that you said it out loud, right? We like to be actionable, and then write your story, write your new story. Don't write your old story, write your new story. What do you want your new money story, money journey to be like? And put in how you would feel. I would actually add, write it in how you're going to feel about that. Empowered, like good, like, confident, capable, like, so you get into the feeling anchors. It's not just the words on a page, but the more emotion you can tie to it, the stronger it's going to be anchored in your body, and the more you will be inspired to move forward in your own.
Yes. And I pulled up my audio because I wanted to tell you guys the name. The Illusion of Money. And it's like Cal Cease. And then the other one is Not Your Money. It's Not Your Money by Tasha Silver. Both of those books.
Tosha Silver.
Yeah.
Tosha. I knew I read that money. I knew I read that book. Sorry, that book. I have that book. I knew that. That book is awesome.
Yes, I read it twice, back to back. I said, I got to do this again.
I have her abundance prayers, and I actually have read them into my phone, and then I play that prayer sometimes at night as a meditation.
Nice.
He has two of them. There's a couple of them. Yeah, It's Not Your Money is
Yes.
an awesome book. Ladies, if you're looking for something to read, it's an easy, quick read too. And
Mhm.
she tells it and she teaches in story. So it actually really makes it even easier to read. You feel it. You don't just read words on the page.
And I do audio. I have audiobooks, so it just really sounds good as you read it. The other one was Money Wounds. I was trying to pull them all up for you. Money Wounds. And that author, let me tell you all real quickly. So as you see, I love reading. Money Wounds is by April Horman.
April. All right. I will look these up and make sure that I post them in the group for us to take a look at. I also recommended Tiffany Alice's book, Get Good with Money, which is more the practical application about how to actually be in relationship with money. Like there's things you actually have to take action and do. And then there's another one. There's a one that I'm working on now. That it's not the truth about money. It is. I can't think of it now. It's sitting by my bedside, and I should, but it's. I can't think of it. It's gone. I will post in the comments, but I'll email you and tell you what it is. It's actually really good. It really is about the history of money and our programming around it as a society. How like money used to never even be equated with time or task. It was something completely different. How we went from coin to paper, how now there's a value on people's time, attention, and there's this whole thing around money. It's really very, very fascinating. So I will put that in the book. And then a couple other ones that I recommend is always Think and Grow Rich, because it's really about your thought processes, your mindset around money and how to add value to the world so that the world gives you back value. And The Science of Getting Rich, which is along the same lines. And I'll add those to the reading list too. And I'll post that there, and I'll email it to you too, so you have it too.
Yeah,
so if people want to work with you, I understand that you've got like one really cool gift for the group that you want to talk about. If you want to talk about that for a few minutes, and then you can tell us how they can work with you.
Yes. So I would love to share an opportunity. It is a quiz. I like quizzes. People are always trying to figure out where am I, where do I fall, where do I sit? And so this quiz really kind of sees about your spending, saving stuff, and you're going to be surprised on what it really can reveal. It's not going to just fall on money, but it's going to talk about self-worth, how you see yourself, how you are willing to give to others. So it's an easy way to kind of just have an assessment of where you are, and then give you some tips, some simple tips to shift. Change happens subtle, and I think we sometimes think it needs to be a really big, grand experience. That happens, but most of our changes happen very subtle. Mm-hmm. So those tips will give you those subtle changes that you can make to really align yourself. Because I'm all about aligning people with their purpose and who they really are. And so it gives you those tips to align with that. And I wanted to share.
Yes, I took the quiz. It's really good. I got my results. I was like, yep, that's exactly right. Nice to go. It was very accurate describing. I was like, oh, this was good. It was good. So take the quiz. I will put the quiz in the group also, so everybody will have that as well. And if people want to work with you to take a deeper dive in their money mindset or reprogram themselves or address their money traumas, how can they get a hold of you?
Absolutely. They can go to Natolie Warren. My name is Natolie, and Warren.com. It will tell you how to do a free 20-minute consultation to just kind of see where you are, what you're in need of, and assessing how we could work together to help resolve that. So NatalieWarren.com will lead you there.
Awesome. And I will put her links and everything in the bottom of the Facebook group. I think we had a couple people show up, but I don't see any other questions. I'll give people a few minutes if they want to post questions. Valerie was on. Thank you, Valerie, for joining. And let's see if anybody else joined. A couple people said they were going to come. Cassandra Connolly, shout out to Cassandra Alexis, actually. It was her podcast and she's in this group. So I follow her podcast, and I found you through her podcast. So this is how queens work to expand their network, right? We're all lifting each other up. And her podcast is phenomenal for those people who are looking for some inspiration. She did this one on money. So, and I'll put that in the link too, so you can get more of Natolie and hear how she works as well. And so I just want to thank you for coming here, for sharing your wisdom, for letting us take a bit of your time, a bit of space in your day, teaching us how to get our money mindset right and be abundant, and also telling us that secret that the 1% know that nobody else knows, which is there is no lack, and they live that. There's nobody that I know that's in that oppression, and there's a few people you see, they do not have that lack mentality. They literally think, yeah, I can get that back in tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's not even a thing, which blows my mind, because I know I'm not there yet. I intellectually know that, but I'm not quite there yet. But I am vigilant about getting there, so that one day I'll be like, I'm not worried about it.
That's right. That's right. We're all on that journey there. And
Yes.
I think it's good to know that we know that it is possible. Yeah.
Absolutely. Dwell in possibility always.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for your time today. I really appreciate you being here. Again, if people want to reach out, all her information will be in the group, and you can reach out to her directly. Please take the quiz, post your results in the group, or some version of your results if you want to keep it confidential, so we can talk about it and support you on your journey. And we'll also be posting the books. Thank you again for joining us, Natolie, and we'll see you next time around. Definitely having you back to talk about tapping.
We got to do tapping, absolutely.
Yes. All right. Have a lovely evening, Queens, and I will see you on the morrow. Take care.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.